research. What is it good for? Well, it's good for not being a fool. There is so much junk out there on the internet that looks good, sort of. You know what I mean? If you don't know what to look for, like what's the date on this, who's the author, if there's a picture, what's the byline on the picture, where does this picture come from? But really, the amount of crap out there is ridiculous on all sides. You know, there's literally websites designed to say, hey, look, this is BS. You know, academic papers, you need sources that are credible. And if you watch the videos already, you will see a very nice source, the database, journals. And what's different between a journal and a website is that anybody can create a website and put anything down there, from the truth to hate speech to their favorite salsa recipe, right? A journal has a peer review. So before something gets into a journal, people, like say if you're writing for a nursing journal, well, people in the field, nurses, will read the article and it'll have to meet their standards to get in. The other thing about a journal entry, a journal article, is if you put something in the journal, the people who read it are also people interested in the field. And if you do somehow manage to slip some junk in, which happens once in a while, other people in the field will look at it and say, I think that's junk. And they will look at it, and it's going to come out, and we'll find out about it. So a journal is a nice place to go because it has one more level of scrutiny before it gets to your eyes. So in the paper that you're doing now, the biggest obstacle, I want you to use the database, right? So you're bringing in sources that have some credibility. Along with that, let's talk about the biggest obstacle paper. You are not, I repeat, not writing a persuasive paper. You're going to do that at the end of the semester. Right? And we're saving that up, though, because right now, before I want you to persuade us about anything, I want to make sure you have the skills to know that what you are persuading us is worth your time. Right? Because I can't tell you how many people start making an argument and it's like, oh, wait a second, is that really true? You know, does this tinfoil hat really protect me from the evil rays coming down from the satellites? Wait, hold on a second, that's not quite true, right? Or, hey, look, what's the real stats on gun violence about, you know, what's going on? Because when a tragedy happens, like just did a day ago, 2 days ago, right? You will get people on the left and they will say, hey, look, that proves our ideas. And you'll get people on the right who say, hey, look, that proves our ideas. And usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. And if you start going into the database, right, you will actually find out things about, you know, crime rates, mental health, and how it goes into what kind of, how much influence, right, the NRA and the gun lobby has in the rules that we're actually following, right, and all kinds of things. It just gets a lot more interesting. So before we get there, I want you to back up a step and think about, this might be an obstacle for you or the reader. Say you're passionate about, let's just take global warming, right? Now, if you're going to go personal, right, you might be totally set on global warming and, hey, I am not buying any property in Miami or any other of the cities in Florida that are going to get flooded out. But you might be so passionate that you think anybody who disagrees with you is just plain stupid, right? Which, it's not really going to work into a paper. You want to look at, why do people that you are talking to, right, what is the obstacle for them to understand? And to call them stupid, no, that doesn't work. I mean, it makes us feel good, right, and pick your topic, right? We all got an area where we know we're right, everybody else is dumb, who disagrees. But when it comes to something like global warming, then when you look into it, what's the obstacle? Well, you might find out, hey, there are these large oil companies who are the Koch brothers who are paying money to put out researchy sounding stuff that makes people think, oh, it might not be true. So on the one side, you have people engaged in the oil industry actively putting crap out. On the other side, on the left, on people who probably you like because they're with you on the, hey, global warming is bad, they could be overselling things, right? Or they could be saying, because of global warming, we must do this. Well, because of the rising temperatures and the rising waters, we got a lot of options of what we can do. So, you know, some people on the denier side are using crappy research funded by oil companies or the Koch brothers, and people on the other side are using it as, well, you're stupid if you disagree and you hate the planet, blah, 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 be afraid, as opposed to, you know, okay, here's what's going on, right? And start talking about something like how the Florida housing market is going to crash, right? And that's going to, you know, you go in that direction. But anyways, I got off a little bit on the housing stuff, but don't buy property and it's real almost underwater in Florida. The obstacle. So for me in that example, say it was like, hey, I'm for it, my obstacle is myself. I think everybody who disagrees is just an idiot. So the paper I would write, right, is I would have to start looking into, hey, why do I think these people are idiots, right? And those are my judgments, right? And I got to start looking into and say, hey, what's really going on? And as I do that, I would start to understand how people on the left are taking things and going, in some cases, right, and they're blowing it out of proportion. They're making it, hey, we need to do this, which it might not help. Right, so now I get a better understanding of where some of my side might be a little bit off. Now, say if on the other side, right, I'll start understanding, hey, if I call somebody a jerk, call them stupid, that's not going to it's not going to help anything. If I understand where they're giving their information, where those reasonings are coming from, well, now we can start talking about what's important. On the other hand, so that's personal. You could write it about what's your own obstacle, right? You get so fired up, you think the other side's just a jerk. That's an internal obstacle. You got to figure out what's going on. The other side is say, hey, what's the obstacle for the other side, right? So in that case, right, you would be looking at, hey, what do you think of? And remember, you have watched videos on propaganda, bias, and all the different types of bias confirmation, right? So let's switch it over to criminal justice, right? Say you wanted to talk about, ultimately, you're going to talk about persuasion, about lowering penalties for marijuana, for example. And if you're going to lower crime, if you want to make people easier, wow, I just butchered that last part. Rewind, sorry. If you wanted to reduce jail sentences, say for example, the people against that, what you would have to think about is say, hey, what is one of the things that they are going to want to not even listen to you, right? And well, maybe because for the last 10, 20 years they've been watching on the news how damn dangerous it is out there. And while if you actually look at the crime rates minus like Chicago, for the last 10, 15 years, it's been going down, 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 down. But how it's been talked about in the news, it's like you would think that everybody lives in Chicago, the dangerous part of Chicago, right? Not the million people of the, you know, how many millions of people who live in a safe Chicago, but how the media, right, portrays the world as being, in America, as being much more violent than it is, right? So that would be the obstacle for the reader. I'm giving everybody feedback on their discussion. I put in an example on mine. We've got a couple people with good examples there. Email me, right? Ask questions in the discussion sections, and you know, just get going. Write a draft, and remember this: you're not trying to persuade us whatever you believe. You're looking at what's that obstacle. Go back to the videos. What's the propaganda you bought into? What's the bias you have? Right? That confirmation bias where you're only looking for the things that agree with you, right? And you're missing all of the other. Look for that. That's the stuff I want in this paper. All right? Have a good day.